Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to 18 Wheels to Wings, where I bring you through the journey that I've taken to try and become a pilot from a truck driver. Today's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the FAA Medical and Special Issuance. If you've seen any of my previous videos, there hasn't been many, I know, but if you've seen any of them, you know that I went through a little bit of a process. I had to have my medical deferred and took about a year to get a special issuance for a couple things. So I wanted to talk about ways that you can possibly make that process easier, faster, and help you along with it, and what it looks like when you do get a special issuance. So to recap, I applied about a year and a half ago, or a little less than a year and a half ago, for my class 1, so I could become a professional pilot. And I had a couple things on my medical history, two of which being a history of kidney stones and a bout with a depression, for which I was medicated. That's kind of important, but save the details. So I got deferred. I went to an AME that was very helpful, but it got deferred. And so after some process, some paperwork, about a year later, I got a special issuance. So let me tell you about what I did and what I think you can do to help with that. So first off is you're going to have to go on MedExpress when you do your medical. You probably already know this. If you're getting ready to do this, this is what you're going to have to do before you go visit the AME, the Aviation Medical Examiner. You're going to have to fill out a very extensive questionnaire about your medical history. The only tip that I can give you here is be honest. Be as honest as you can. And I know this seems pretty straightforward, pretty like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to be honest. Like, why wouldn't I? But I've been on a number of forums, a number of places, whether it's Reddit, Facebook, have it. And I've definitely seen a number of people suggest lying about certain things. And, you may be thinking about your medical history and going, well, that wasn't really a big deal. Maybe I can just, ignore it or just say no or whatever the case. And I wouldn't suggest it. Obviously, that's falsifying government documents, right? That's a record that they're going to keep. They're going to have that. And I'm not saying they're ever going to dig into it. I'm not saying anybody's ever going to find out. I don't know what their processes for that are. But if it were to ever come out that you lied on it, say goodbye to anything, because they're going to pull your medical immediately. Like, yeah, you lied to us. That's a federal thing. I don't have any documentation to prove that. I can just say it's the government, and I've been dealing with the DOT specifically for a long time now as a truck driver, and I know they don't take things lightly. They'll yank your medical for a lot of things, and if they find out you lied, absolutely. So be honest, really. Just answer the questions, even if you think it's incriminating you, even if you think, oh man, this is gonna really hold me back, or maybe it'll stop me. Answer the questions correctly. In the end, the medical part is about safety, right? They're trying to get people that are relatively healthy, so you're not going to crash the plane. You're not going to have some sort of medical incident while you're 30,000 feet in the air and you're going to crash in the garden. So it's for your safety as well as everybody else's. Be honest. Simple as that. I shouldn't have to go more into detail about that. Next thing is prepare yourself. So what I mean by that is something that I did, and then this is real easy steps you could take care of, is even before you start the MedExpress process. Evaluate yourself. You know your medical history. It's got to be everything, right? From day one on to where you are. So, me being 40, there's a lot of history to go through. So I had to really sit back and think, okay, what have I gone through? Because they're going to ask you about diagnoses. They're going to ask you about illnesses, surgeries, the nines. They're going to cover the nines. They're going to want to know everything, and they're going to want to know dates for everything. So before you even start that, start going through your head. And if you have a MyChart or some online program that you can go back through your medical records, even better. But think about different diagnoses. I'm not talking about if you had the flu or COVID or whatever. I'm not talking about simple things like that. But if you had an ADHD diagnosis when you were a kid and now, you're off of it, or you're recovered from that, or recovered's a stupid word, but you've moved past that. You've been able to do better without medication or whatever the case is. Or, you've had a surgery for something on your foot. Regardless of how simple, benign, and ridiculous it may sound, think about everything. If you ever had to go to the doctor, the hospital, anything like that, think about it. And then start doing some digging on what it is. So, like in my case, I knew I had a history of kidney stones. Let's use that for an example. And I thought, okay, this could be a problem. It's not a problem with my DOT physical, my DOT med card for trucking, but it could be. So what I did was I did a simple Google search, FAA medical kidney stones. Just typed it in. First link brings me to a page in the FAA's own website explaining exactly what the kidney stones will or will not allow me to do. And from there, I was able to print out a worksheet. Now, this is huge. Do as much research on the FAA's website as you can, because they will provide you everything you're going to need to know about whatever diagnosis you have and whether or not you're going to be able to get a med card or not. So under mine, it had a green section and a red section for the kidney stones. And under the green section, it had a bunch of stipulations, medical jargon I don't know anything about. You don't have to know anything about it. But the key to this is bringing this to your doctor. Get that worksheet, get whatever printout you can get from the FAA's website. Schedule a doctor's appointment. And I'd suggest you, if there's a couple of different things, get it all together and make one appointment. But, for like the kidney stones, I went to my urologist. And I printed out all these worksheets and brought it to him. Went to a doctor's appointment. Brought it to him. Now, I had been getting these under control. I've been on a whole plan, so he knew about this. This wasn't unfamiliar territory for us. But I brought him these worksheets, and he was able to look at the sheets and say, okay, you fall into this category because of this, this, and this. So you've gone through these things. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know the words or whatever. But they also the FAA required a certain evaluation and scans, more recent scans. So he wrote up, what he needed to write up using the exact lingo and verbiage that they needed. I got the scans that I needed, ultrasound, whatever. And I had everything prepared. I had everything I needed. So even when I went in, MedExpress, it asks about kidney stones. Have you ever had kidney stones? Yes. Okay. It wants to know dates, specifics. Okay. To, put it into the best of my ability, using MyChart, using other information, this is what I had. Okay. But I had all the paperwork and everything I know I was going to need, because the FAA gives you the answers to the test. Those worksheets are invaluable. Look at them. Get them read by doctors and get them filled out. Get them figured out. So, skipping forward, go to the AME, and I have that stuff in hand. He sits down, he opens up my MedExpress, goes down through it, says, oh yeah, look at that. You had a history of kidney stones. And I'm like, yep, and here you go. Give him all the paperwork. He's like, whoa, okay. So he flips through, he's like, that's cool. Now, will this speed up the process? Probably not. I'm not saying this is going to speed up the process, but what it's going to do is save you headaches, because what's going to happen, okay, you do the MedExpress thing, you go to see the AME, okay, whatever diagnosis you had, he has to defer. Okay, it's going to go to the FAA. You're going to wait probably 60 to 90 days. Could be faster, could be slower. And you're going to get a letter back from the FAA. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I'm just letting you know they're going to send that first letter certified mail. So make sure you're home. And if you're not home, then make sure you get to the post office. Or make sure your post office is, some post offices don't leave notes saying, hey, you have certified mail, come get it. Make sure you check the post office, because they will send it certified mail and you have to pick it up or sign off on it when you get it. So Anyway, you get a letter and it's going to say, okay, according to this, we need this information. Well, the beautiful thing is you already got some of this. You don't have to wait 90 days from your AME appointment to know what information you need. You already went and got it. You did your doctor's appointments. You got, any scans you needed. You got all the information you needed. You had it already. So now when they send you this letter, like under mine, it said, for kidney stones, we need this, this, and this. I already had it. I got it figured out. I had it. My AME had it. No problem. I had the AME submit paperwork. We're good. Now, they're going to send you that regardless. The AME probably will not submit any of that information you bring him or her right away. They're just going to submit that they have to defer for it. They're not going to give them that information because you don't want to give the FAA any information that they don't ask for. But as long as he has it on hand, once you get that letter, they'll get a copy as well, or they'll be able to pull it up. You just call them when you get the letter, be like, hey, this is what they said they needed, and I'm pretty sure I gave that to you. Okay, I'm going to submit it, and the AME is going to take it and be like, okay, I'll submit it through my online portal into your file. So, and then I had, the other one for the depression diagnosis, which I had already covered. I did the same thing with that. Got the worksheets, went to my PCP, got everything I needed. And as soon as I got the letter, called the AME, he submitted. So do that. Be prepared. Get ahead of the game. The FAA tells you exactly what they're going to need. Now, I'm not saying every diagnosis is going to be the same. I'm not saying it's all going to be that simple. But you can prepare yourself. Instead of waiting for the FAA to tell you what they need and then going to the doctor's office, you already know what you have, for one. You have the information available to you right on the website. Google search it. Type in FAA Medical and whatever diagnosis it is. Usually it's the first or second link. Click on all of them. Click on the first one, then go back, click on the next one. Just try to get all the information you possibly can, right? Print off any worksheets, any information that the FAA has. Schedule your appointment immediately. Go get that taken care of. Go get it figured out. And this will also help you in case you're currently on something. So say you're on a, like in my case with the depression, say you're on a medication for that. FAA strictly does not allow those things. So you can get ahead of it. Like, maybe you're feeling better. Maybe you don't think you need to be on that anymore. Whatever. Get a doctor's appointment. Go figure it out. Be like, look, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. This is what they're telling me that I can or can't do because of this medication. What can we do moving forward to work on getting rid of this? And I'm not saying that's going to work in every case. I'm not saying that's what, happened with me. And none of this is medical advice. I'm not giving you necessarily any medical advice. I'm giving you tips on how to smooth out this process. Because in the end, it's a pain, but you can make it easier on yourself by being prepared. So do that. Get all that figured out, and that way the AME has everything he needs. Send it in. Done. Once you get all that done, now it's just a waiting game. So mine, a few months later, a few months, I should say like 6 months later, so we're nine months into it or whatever, they send me another letter saying they needed another update on the kidney stones. And they needed, for the depression, they needed a complete history of anything pertaining to that between this date and this date. Okay, well, again, I have my chart. Hopefully you do, or another similar device. You can also call your medical records department or get in contact with them, and they can put everything together for you. But I got all that together, within a week or so, submitted it all, and 3 months later, I got the special issuance. Now, the special issuance came from the regional office. Everything you're going to do is originally going to go to Oklahoma City. But in my case, and hopefully in your case, and maybe in other people's cases, they're going to take that and they're going to pass it off to the regional office to handle. Oklahoma City's got a lot going on, staffing issues, whatnot. So they sent it to my New England regional office. And the regional offices are a lot easier to deal with. After I got my special issuance, I did talk to them. And they informed me that from now on, anything pertaining to my case, I can send to them directly instead of it having to go through Oklahoma City. So that helps speed the process up because they have a less heavy work flow. They don't have to deal with as much as Oklahoma City does. So it's a faster, easier process for them. So that's huge. So in your case, hopefully they do send it to your regional office and maybe you can contact them directly and deal with them directly moving forward. But the special issuance is one of those things where it's going to be an ongoing process for you. It's not like you got a special issuance because they had to defer it and look at it and, okay, now this is a special type of certificate. It kind of is, but the thing that makes it different is you're going to be doing an ongoing medical review for whatever diagnoses got you deferred in the first place. Now, for me, the way the timeline worked out is I had to renew my first class medical like the month I got my special issuance, because what sucks is for the class 1, for me, I have to renew every year anyway, but it's from the date that you go see the AME. So I went in February to the AME, it got deferred, and I went through the whole process. I got my special issuance like the month it was due, because your date starts from when you go to see your AME. So I didn't have my medical for a whole year, but I got my medical and now I have to go renew it. So I went to renew it, but with the special issuance, you have to do certain things every time you renew. And I've already got my letter prepared for next year's because they send it to you. And when I went to renew, they needed an updated doctor's note, basically progress note on both diagnoses and scans for the kidney stones. So scheduled my appointments, went and got those, submitted right to the regional office because, like I said, I had talked to them. They were like, yep, just contact us directly. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. Perfect. As soon as I got all that information, emailed it to them, went and scheduled my AME, went to the AME, did all that. Special issuance within the week. Got it done. And because I had satisfied certain requirements for them, moving forward, I don't have to worry about the depression thing anymore. I'd been off the medication for a long time. My progress note was perfect. My doctor wrote it up exactly how they wanted it, had all the verbiage. And now moving forward, I don't have to address that part of my medical history anymore. That is gone. Said it right on my new letter from the FAA. Kidney stones, I will be an ongoing process. So when I go to renew again next year, I have to bring them another progress note, more scans, and everything else that they asked for, which is going to be pretty much the same moving forward. More than likely, that is going to be an ongoing process from here on out. Maybe at some point they'll say, yep, okay, you're good. It's been the same for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long. I can't say that for sure, but it looks like this is going to be the process. As long as I keep my kidney stones in check, I keep going to the doctors, doing my thing, keeping up with that, and my progress notes look the same. I have regularly scheduled intervals now for my appointments with him. I'm good, but I have it. I have my first class medical, and the special issuance doesn't put any restrictions on you. Doesn't do anything like that. It is a full first class medical. The only difference is when I go to my AME, I have to have these certain pieces of information to send to the FAA to continue to get that for class 1. So that would be what I would say is just the biggest thing is be prepared and be honest. Those two things. You can do it, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same process for every diagnosis. There's a million things out there that you could have had, dealing with now. I can't give you medical advice on any of it. I can't give you, what I think will be like for you going through the process. But I know that these two things can help smooth it out regardless of what it is, because it streamlines the process so much better. It really does. And it makes you feel on top of the game. As much as it is frustrating waiting for the FAA, there's things you can do to help move that along, obviously, and try and stay healthy. I mean, I'm a big guy. You clearly can tell I'm not small. So I do need to do better about taking care of myself. But visiting the doctor regularly and being honest with what's going on with you, those are big things. I can't give you any more medical advice than that, probably. Just try and stay healthy and do that. But that's what worked for me. That's where I'm at. Hopefully this video will help you a little bit in getting through that process. If you had a special issuance or think you may have one, reach out. We don't have to get personal or anything. You don't have to give me specifics, but just if you need somebody to talk to about it, you're worried about it, just hit me up or whatever. But yeah, other than that, we're gonna call this a video. Hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. I'm this close, hopefully, to starting the flight training. The money thing's a big deal, but we're working on it. So until the next video, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and we'll check you later.